Study Session 9. The Ears and Hearing. Introduction. One of the stimuli that the nervous system is sensitive to is sound. The perception and response of people to sound waves is a cardinal function of human beings. We will therefore focus on the organ of hearing and the physiology of hearing in this study session. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Outline the process of sound. 2. Describe the parts of the human ear. 3. Discuss the physiology of hearing. Sound. If you snap your fingers, you will hear a crack. This sound comes from waves of air that were compressed and expanded by the quick movement of your fingers. If you could see sound waves, you might compare them to the ripples on a lake. Each ripple that is made is each time air is compressed and expanded is called a cycle. You can tell the difference between low and high sounds by their pitch. The pitch is determined by the number of cycles that occur per sound. The low pitch sound of a bass has fewer cycles per second than the high pitch of a doorbell. The term frequency is used to express the number of cycles per second. The average person hears frequencies from 20 to 20,000 cycles per second. With normal aging, we lose the ability to detect the very highest of these frequencies, such that by age 70, many people have trouble hearing sounds above 60,000 cycles. The loudness of a sound is determined by the height or amplitude of the sound wave and is measured in units called decibels. A whisper is about 30 decibels, whereas the usual live band blasts about 110 decibels. The higher the decibel level, the more intense the sound and the greater the danger of damaging the organs of hearing. This is why people that work near noisy equipment are always advised to wear ear protecting equipment. Structure of the ear. The ear is divided into 3 distinct parts: outer ear, middle ear, in brackets, tympanic cavity, and the inner ear. The outer ear. This consists of the auricle, in bracket, pinna, and the external acoustic meatus. The auricle is the expanded portion projecting from side of the head. The external acoustic meatus, in bracket, auditory canal, is a slightly S-shaped tube of about 2.5 cm long, extending from the auricle to the eardrum. There are numerous sebaceous and ceruminous glands in the skin of the lateral third. The ceruminous glands produce a sticky materials, in bracket, cerumen, which traps dust, insects, etc. The tympanic membrane, in bracket, eardrum, completely separates the external acoustic meatus from the middle ear. When sound waves strike the eardrum, it causes it to vibrate. This sets in motion 3 tiny bones: the malleus, in bracket, hammer, incus, in bracket, anvil, and the stapes, in bracket, stirrups, so named because of their shape. Each of these acts as a lever increasing the pressure on the next, until the pressure exerted by the stirrup is many times greater than what the hammer exerts. The stirrups press against a membrane called the oval window, which lies at the end of the middle ear. Because the oval window is much smaller than the eardrum, and because of the lever effects that the 3 tiny bones create, the oval window receives much more pressure per square millimeter. than the eardrum does. This increased pressure is needed to move the fluid in the next chamber of the ear, the inner ear. The inner ear or lambreth contains the organ of hearing and balance. It is generally described in two parts, the bony lambreth and the membranous lambreth. The bony lambreth is larger than and encloses the membranous lambreth of the same shape, which fits into it, like a tube within a tube. Between the bony and membranous lambreth, there is a layer of watery fluid called the perilymph, and within the membranous lambreth, there is an endolymph. The bony lambreth consists of one vestibule, one cochlea, and three semicircular canals. The vestibule contains the oval and round windows in its lateral wall. The cochlea resembles a snail's shell. The semicircular canals are three tubes arranged so that one is situated in each of the three planes of space. They are continuous with the vestibule. The membranous lambreth lies in the bony lambreth. It contains endolymph and comprises of the vestibule, cochlea, and the three semicircular canals. A cross-section of the cochlea contains three compartments, the scalar vestibule and the scalar media and the scalar tympani. On the base of this triangle called the basilar membrane, there are supporting cells and specialized cochlear hair cells containing auditory receptors. These cells form the spiral organ of Corti, which is the sensory organ that responds to vibration by initiating nerve impulses that are then perceived as hearing by the brain. The auditory receptors are dendrites of eventrine nerves that combine, forming the cochlea (auditory) part of the vestibulocochlear nerve to the hearing area in the cerebrum, where the sound is perceived, and to various nuclei in the pons and in the midbrain. Physiology of hearing. Sound waves generated, e.g., by playing a record, are changed into nerve impulses by the nerve cells in the inner ear. Nerve cells leave the cochlea via the auditory nerve. From there, they travel to the thalamus and then to the primary auditory area, located in the temporal bone of the cortex. If the nerve impulse of the music stops at the primary auditory area, tones of different pitches and degree of loudness will be heard, but not the melody. Sound waves have properties of pitch and volume or intensity. Pitch is determined by the frequency of the sound waves and is measured in hertz (Hz). The volume depends on the amplitude of sound waves and is measured in decibels (dB). Very loud noise is damaging to the ear because it damages the sensitive hair cells of the spiral organ. Because of the structure of the inner ear, sounds of different frequencies stimulate the basilar membrane at different places along its length, allowing discrimination of pitch. Additionally, the greater the amplitude of wave created in the endolymph, the greater the stimulation of the auditory receptors. Study session summary. The ears and sense of hearing were our focus in this study session. The ear is divided into three distinct parts: outer ear, middle ear (tympanic cavity), and the inner ear. The outer ear consists of the auricle (pinna) and the external acoustic meatus. The middle ear contains the oval window, round window, and the auditory ossicles. When sound waves strike the eardrum, it causes it to vibrate. sound waves generated are changed into nerve impulses by the nerve cells in the inner ear. Nerve cells leave the cochlea via the auditory nerve. From there, they travel to the thalamus and then to the primary auditory area, located in the temporal bone of the cortex. End of study session 9. Thank you for listening.